Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff, and a happy new year to each and every one of you. My name is Jason and this is the January 2022 Roundup. So for those of you who are new subscribers and have not perhaps seen a Roundup before, what we do in a Roundup is just talk about what we did in the last month, make sure you've not missed anything, and then let you know what's coming up in the month ahead. And in this Roundup, we'll also be talking about the year ahead and what's coming up from the long-term view of life. So in December and in Tools and Tips, we looked at etch rolling, sprue cutting, the Dragon Tail paint stand, and a very basic introduction to the topic of dry brushing, which was something that had been requested. It's not a difficult thing to do, but does need a little bit of practice to get your head around how much paint to have on your brush and so on and so forth. But all of those spawned some interest and some discussion. It always surprises me how interested some of the more experienced modelers amongst you are on some of those tools videos, because they are really aimed at the novice. But all good, and we had a nice mix again. Now, first impressions was really interesting this month, certainly from my perspective. We had a two-parter, which we don't do very often. I've done a three-parter before now, and we'll talk about that in a sec, actually. We looked at the Mark Graf first, which I thought was a cracking little kit for the money, and although it's a little bit more limited in aftermarket than some other kits are, if you look around and get a Koenig class etch set, you can raise the level of that a little bit if you wish to. We also did that Hetzer, which is a lovely little kit, even though it doesn't have an engine, which I was a little disappointed with. The kit itself is a lovely little kit. I'm looking forward to that at some point in the future. And we had the Santa's Express. Now, that was interesting. It was a little bit of an aside for me. It's a train set. It's still a model, so it's model stuff. Having a model railway is something that's been in the back of my mind for a couple of years now. Do I want to get back into that? I did it, loved it as a kid. And with me relocating my model area down to the kitchen, I have an attic space that was a dedicated modelling area that's now just holding my stash and junk and not much else. So with a bit of a tidy up, there's certainly space there for a reasonable size railroad build. So that's something that I'm going to think about a little bit more. I don't expect to necessarily see much come of that this year, but it might enter planning stages, shall we say. The Tirpitz first impressions video again took me totally by surprise. And we'll come back to it a little bit when we talk about what we learned in 2021. But the Tirpitz video has gone down really well. It surprised me a little bit because it's not a new release kit. So it's not like the 1200 Scharnhorst that we reviewed back in February of last year, which had high viewing figures because I think I was the first person to get it on YouTube. And we did a big three-parter there where we looked at the kit, and then we looked a bit more in detail at what needed doing with the kit over the next couple of videos. You sort of expect a high number of views for that, even on a small channel like this, just because of the way YouTube works with its search functions and what have you. But when you do a kit that's been out a little while now, and certainly one or two people have built it, and there's a very good build currently underway on YouTube of it. It surprised me how popular it was. So when we think about builds in December, we completed our little three-part absolute beginners Christmas build. So the way I'm looking at the world of builds going forward is that I'll categorise them as either absolute beginners, and I won't do many of those to be honest, novice, which means that you might have built a few kits, but you're at sort of entry level when it comes to maybe tools and techniques, or not been building models for long and need to feel your way around a little bit more. Intermediate is where I would guess most modelers would fit. People that might dabble in a little bit of scratch building and a little bit of aftermarket, and do a little bit of weathering, but in the main, you're building it out of the box with a little bit of add-on. Then we have advanced, which is basically your all bells and whistles. So like the Queen Mary 2 build, where we've got 2 sets of etch, we've got wooden deck, and we're doing a lot of scratch building. That's an advanced build in my book. So that's sort of where I'm pegging the builds as we go forward. Now, the Christmas build has gone down really well, I'm glad to say, and basically the idea of that is if you've never built a model before, you can go in and build that model and come out the other side with something completed, having not really got any model experience or tools and so on. Now, I did get 1 or 2 questions over those builds. One that sticks in my mind was, when do you paint things on the sprue? Well, the way I've done that video is the way I would work. There is more than one way of tackling it. I personally don't like painting things on the sprue too much, because quite often it leads to touch up and cleaning up after you've done painting, and sometimes you can't get in to clean the part up properly if it's on the sprue. So it depends on the part, but generally I don't tend to do it. Unless the connection point is a point that's not getting painted for whatever reason, or is going to be glued into the part or hidden or something like that, in which case I might do, because it's a handy way of holding onto your part without having to touch it. But yeah, that was my way of building it. I quite enjoyed that. It was nice to go really old school for a few hours, and we got 3 good little videos on the run up to Christmas, I think. And our other build obviously was the Queen Mary 2, the main build currently, which has progressed nicely. And keep your eye out for more of that in 2022. Stephen has had an opportunity to go and do a proper reconnaissance mission on the actual Queen Mary 2, and so he's going out taking some pictures and some video, which we will probably feature in some of the build videos as we go forward, for reference and for a better understanding of the layout of certain areas of the ship. So lots more Queen Mary 2 coming. They are popular videos. I'm glad people are enjoying them. I'm certainly enjoying it. So that brings us nicely to January, and in tools and tips, the one thing I know I'm definitely going to be doing is showing you how to make an aircraft building jig for your model aircraft that will cope with 172 through to 132. The same principle you could do for a 124 as well, although it might need to be slightly different. So you don't have to go out and buy one of those really expensive plastic or wooden modelling jigs. Make one yourself, save yourself some money and spend it on your models. So that's a definite. Other stuff planning, we'll see what turns up. When it comes to first impressions, well, last month you saw what I was filming. So in terms of what you're going to be viewing, you're going to be looking at the Prince of Wales kit with lots and lots of aftermarket, including some 3D printed parts. You'll also be seeing that Gneisenau Scharnhorst combination kit being reviewed. So that's also going to be quite interesting, given the interest that I've clearly got on German ships. So my December ended with a couple of additions to the stash. Santa was good to me, so let's show you what we got. The first one was this, and Sean, I think you might be quite interested in this one, buddy. The Tamiya 300 SL Mercedes-Benz. What a stunning little kit that is, and a stunning car with the gull wings. Always like that car. It's a classic car, and we're going to be reviewing that. And then when I come to build it, we'll do a red one. Now, this might be my Sunday morning build, because my daughter has also got one of these off Santa. So if she decides she wants to build it, we'll build it together. It'll be definitely the largest car she's built. In fact, I think it'll be the largest scale kit she's ever built. So yeah, my 9-year-old is going to get stuck into this bad boy. And the other kit in Santa's sack for me this year was this one. And that has been on my wish list now for a little while. So Trumpeter have this in 2 different versions. They have the part flat top like I have, and the full flat top. I think the part flat top just looks a little bit more interesting. So I'm trying to get rid of that light, there you go. A little bit more interesting because you've got the superstructure there a bit more visible at the front. It's a lovely picture, isn't it? So we've got that, and we've got some aftermarket in there, so we'll be filming that in January, I would think, as a first impressions video, but a lovely little addition to my collection of ships. Nice way to end the year, I think. So as always in January, we'll be filming our first impressions videos ready for release in February, and that's this lot here. So actually you will see this one probably at the back end of January because it's a long month. February being a short month, it'll level itself out. But yeah, we are going to have a look at a flying fortress. From my point of view, I have never built a flying fortress. To my shame, I have built several Lancaster bombers over the years. I've done Lancaster bomber dioramas and crashed ones and flying ones, and I have built it over and over again, and I've never built a flying fortress. And yeah, it's such a lovely looking aircraft. This is a relatively new tool, so we'll take you through that in the first impressions video, but that is coming up. That is currently on the catalogue, or it was at the end of December. We'll talk more about the Airfix catalogue in a minute. But yeah, that is coming up as a first impressions back end of January, and we'll be filming that in January as well. So we're also going to take a look at this Hazagawa Warhawk. So this is a kit I've had for quite some time, and my partner keeps commenting on the fact that I've not built the lovely looking plane with the mouth on it. So we might have to dig into that this year, but we're going to do a first impressions for sure. We're going to film it in January, and you will see that at some point in February. So that could be fun. 148 Scale Warhawk. So we're also going to be having a look at this. I'm going to video this in January. Now, any of you that saw my U9 build from DasWorks know that I had a bit of an issue with the style over substance approach of the kit. So I got this before the U9. I have had a quick look through the box when I first got it, but I haven't revisited it. So it'd be good to do a proper look at this in depth and see what we get, and see if we can change my view on DasWorks, because right now I wouldn't buy a DasWorks kit. But as I've already got this one, and it's a really interesting subject, an experimental proposed aircraft, not one that ever saw action. I'm not even sure if it was ever got off the ground as a prototype, but we'll understand that better for the first impressions video. It's a 132 aircraft, so it should be a nice decent size even for a small aircraft. So yeah, we'll film that in January, so watch out for that coming in February. And finally, after many years of trying to track it down, I have one. A Lusitania in 1350 scale. It's the Gunsanyo version. They go for silly money, and I'm not prepared to pay silly money, so this was right on. It was literally within £2 of my limit I was prepared to spend, so just scraped in. One more person would have bidded on it and I wouldn't have got it. So Yeah, I'm really pleased. Everything in there is in its original bag. It's never been touched or started. It's never really been looked at. And models are made for building, so we'll be reviewing this with a view to building this one day. I don't collect models for the sake of collecting. I collect them for building. So, yeah, really looking forward to that. It's one of my favourite ocean liners, certainly in my top 3 or 4 ocean liners, and obviously it has a story to go with it. So we'll have a look at all of that and do a nice in-depth first impressions video. So if you want to shell out silly money for one, you know exactly what you're buying. So as we enter into 2022, I've been reflecting a little bit on 2021, and that year was very much about understanding what I wanted to get out of the channel, understanding how to get my videos to where I really want them to be, and understanding what you guys, the viewer, are interested in. And what is absolutely clear is you're massively interested in the ships. So when we did a little subscriber special, 1,000 subscribers, what do you want me to build next? People weren't really interested in some of the kits that I thought would have high interest, the newer kits, the aircraft kits. Nope, we're interested in the ships. So subliminal messages aside, ships is definitely what people are interested in. And it's very clear that we're massively interested in German ships, more than anything else. So that was interesting. My 2 best performing video series have been the First Impressions 1200 Scharnhorst and 1350 Tirpitz. So clearly that's what people are interested in. So I'm taking that and throwing that into 2022, and we'll come back to that in a minute. The other thing that I've found is that having a more polished video presentation has worked better for me, and it's actually, strange as it might sound, sped up my ability to edit and produce a video. So when you're doing a video sort of off the cuff, it's very easy to catch yourself out and trip over your words and not quite think through what you're going to say. So having a plan, knowing that I've got a tool video on a Monday, a first impression on a Wednesday, a build on a Saturday, and ensuring that we've got some structure behind that has really helped me to focus on producing the videos to the standard that I want to. Now, I'm an amateur at this. I'm always going to be an amateur at this, but my videos reflect my enjoyment, not just of building the model, but of the subject. And actually, I really quite enjoy doing the videos. So pulling all that together, we present that as a video that, for me, can sit there long term, and in 5 years' time, people could come back to it, and it'll still feel like a good video series rather than a moment in time. That's sort of the intention, if that makes sense. So from that point of view, I think 2021, I finished that journey, and the videos are working great. What my takeaway from the Queen Mary 2 videos is people are really interested in the history and the detail. Not everyone's an expert on everything, and clearly there are people out there who have real expertise on subjects and have a real focus on it. And I'm never going to achieve that, but we are going to try and put a little bit more historical information and bits and pieces into the builds. I'm interested in it. When I'm building something, I like to immerse myself in it. So unless I'm just getting a Spitfire out in 172 and it's a palette cleanser, I've just finished this, I want to just bang something else before I start another major project, I'm not going to go to town on that. But if we were doing Lusitania, we're going to do a lot of research around it. We're going to fill in some of the blanks in the story, understand the ship design, what she was intended for, how she performed and all that. And we can introduce that into those build videos and break that up a little bit. Yeah, there's more to come in terms of how we develop the content of the videos, but I've got them where I want them to be. So in 2022, tools and tips will continue as is. I've had a quick look round at my tools that I can share with you, and I've certainly got enough to keep us going for the year ahead. We are going to continue the format as it is. It works for me. It's just a quick snapshot. It's a 10 or 15 minute video in the main, which gives you an understanding of what to do if you are entry-level, novice, or maybe even intermediate and never considered one of those tools or never come across them. So it just gives you a bit of an understanding. So we'll continue with those. We'll continue with the quick tips as well, as and when I feel that there is an opportunity to share something. But I'm not going to focus on that. We're not going to do lots and lots of them. Firstly, because I don't feel that I'm an expert modeler, so I don't feel it's right for me to say, this is how you do this. Mainly because there is not really a way. There's lots of different ways to achieve the result that you're looking for. So I don't want to be. I'm not arrogant enough to say this is how you should do it. What I will do is say, look, this is how I do it, and it works for me. So like the dry brushing, that's quite a basic skill. Most people know how to do it. There's not too many different ways of going about it. So I'm quite happy to share that and say, look, this is how I go about it. And that gets some nice chat going, and people say, well, actually, I do use acrylics and I do it this way, or what have you. So really interesting chat comes out of that. So we will continue the quick tips, but don't expect lots and lots of them. What you can expect, though, is the largest tool review you'll have ever seen before, and probably again. When I say large, this is the largest modelling tool I can think of. We will be reviewing it at some point in 2022. So if you don't want to miss it and you've not subscribed, now might be the time. First impressions. So for the time being, they're going to continue as they are in 2022 when we do one every week. We look at a different kit. There is a limit to how many we're going to do because basically my channel is me working through my stash, and at some point we will get to the end of my stash. We've got a little way to go yet. What we'll see is a few more wooden ship kits in that mix. We've got a completely different fiberglass hulled radio control ship to look out. But despite my best efforts, I still buy in more kits than I build every year. So anything new that comes into the stash will get reviewed as well. Expect to see that continue for a good portion of the year. Whether we'll carry on all year with first impressions every week, I'm not sure. We might start reducing that number towards the back end of the year, and it might become a sort of as and when thing, in which case we'll look at what we're going to replace the Wednesday video with. That could be that we do a fly update or something like that every Wednesday. Who knows? So I guess the thing that you're most interested in is what is coming up in the way of builds in 2022. Well, I don't want to commit to too much because right now what I think I want to do and what I end up doing may be two different things. But here's where my head is right now. The next new build series that you're going to see is the Airfix 148 Tropical Hurricane. That build is underway and videoing is underway. So you'll start seeing that build series coming out through January. Not quite sure how many episodes that's going to end up being. We're probably going to spend more time on the painting than the building, as it's a not overly complicated kit. yet looks very detailed. Following on from that, we're going to then get stuck into the Rifle Models initial production Tiger tank. Notice I'm not saying Tiger 1. I don't like to call it a Tiger 1, it's a Tiger and a Tiger 2. So we will call it a Tiger because that's what it is. So we have that build coming up. It's got etch and it's got some 3D printed parts, a little bit of aftermarket, but from the same manufacturer. That's going to be a diorama, so it's going to be set on a small street scene with a couple of buildings, and Gavin Booth has kindly agreed to paint the figures for me, so I've no doubt he'll be showing that process on his channel. So if you've not subscribed to Gavin's channel or seen Gavin's channel, go and get yourself over there. He's going to paint up the set of figures for me, and then I'll end up putting them on my diorama. So a nice little collaboration there for the 80th anniversary of the Tiger. And I think that will be our first diorama proper on the channel, so that will be interesting. I haven't built a Tiger tank for a good length of time. The last one I built, well, I built a Tiger 2, the Tamiya Porsche Turret Tiger 2, which has got all its production runs mixed up, and the model's not accurate at all. That was the last Tiger I built, and that must be, well, that's when it came out, so what, 15 years ago, is it? Something like that. So it's been some time since I built a Tiger tank, so the 80th anniversary seems like a good opportunity. And what we'll do in there is we'll show you how to tackle those diorama building sets that you can get, because if you don't know how to go about it, they can be a little bit daunting. The build I'm treating as an intermediate, but it might borderline on advanced, just because we're diorama building and because we've got some photo etch and 3D parts in there. So I'll make a decision once I've started into it, whether it's an advanced or an intermediate build. But what we'll do in that video series is we will do some of the tank build and some of the diorama build in tandem as we go through, so that at the end we'll have the diorama set in, we'll have the model tank completed, and then Gavin's figures will arrive just to absolutely finish it off. So I'm really looking forward to that, and that is the build that comes after the Hurricane. Fly is going to continue, and it's probably going to continue to be a bit of an intermittent build. I am trying to get at least one Fly video out a month going forward. The problem is you come to points in the build where you've got a lot of repetitive work, and it takes me 10 or 15 minutes to explain what needs to be done, and then takes me 3 weeks to get it actually done. So laying the hull planking, laying the second hull planking, rigging cannons, those are all going to be jobs that take a long time but don't take long to show you. So doing the rat lines and that sort of stuff. So there are points where that video series sort of slows down. So I'm toying with the idea of changing the Fly format from being a build series proper to a sort of short update. And that could be something that we then intersperse on a Wednesday with the first impressions videos, and you may get a Fly update or a first impressions video depending on where we're up to with the build. So that's something I'm toying with. Right now I have 2 full build videos for Fly nearly completed, I think. So we'll have 2 full videos and then we might change the format. But Fly is absolutely going to continue. I'm enjoying it. It's a nice little kit, and it's got plenty of bling, so should look the part when we start getting the hull decoration on. And at some point, Queen Mary 2 will finish. It's a really big build because of the level of scratch building we're doing. Want to get it as accurate as possible. Don't know quite what's happening with it when the build finishes. but there is one or two ideas being floated around, so I want to make sure it's as good a build as I can possibly do. But something needs to follow on from that, and it will be another ship. We will always have a ship build on the channel. So I have two paused videos at the moment. I have the Warspite and the Arizona, so it'll be one of those that we carry on with. My gut feel is we might get into the Arizona because we can complete that more quickly, but my mind might be changed to the Warspite come the time. Now then, the next thing is subscribers. So part of what happens in 2022 is going to be down to you guys, the subscribers. I am roughly, at the time I'm recording this, at just over 1,700 subscribers. Now, when we hit 1,000 subscribers, we celebrated by giving you an option of deciding what was built on the channel next. And if we hit 2,000 subscribers, we will do that again. So, to a certain degree, I'm not 100% sure what could come up in the middle of the year. What I will commit to is I absolutely am going to do a German ship during the course of the year. My subscriber base is predominantly British, American and German. So there's such an interest in German ships, clearly, from what happened in 2021, that we're going to definitely build a German ship. Now, my intention before I started the YouTube channel was to go and tackle the Trumpeter 1200 Bismarck. So when that first came out, I started it. I then had an issue with the wood deck that I'd bought, and then as more aftermarket stuff came out, I realised that as it's a labour of love build, for reasons that many of you will understand, I decided to pause the build, let the aftermarket guys catch up with it, and then we'll come back. And the upshot is it actually needs a strip down, start again, because I've had so many issues with the wood deck. But I have the 1200 Trumpeter Bismarck. I have the Edward etch. I have the Mark 1 etch. I have resin, and I have the Pontos set and the Pontos Advanced set for that. So we can absolutely go to town on it. But I'm aware that there is another channel that I follow that is intending to build that at some point in the future using the Pontos and Pontos Advanced set, and I don't want to be doing the same thing as that channel's doing at the same time. So I'm pushing that one out to 2023 minimum. So that one's off the table. But we will definitely be doing a German ship of some type. And I've got plenty to go at. I've got Tirpitz, Hipper, Blucher, Scharnhorst, Gneisenau, is that how you pronounce it? So I've got, Admiral Scheer. So I've got 6 other German ships that we could look at, and one of those will definitely get built at some point this year. So the other thing that I definitely want to do in 2022 is tackle a large aircraft project. It's been a little while since I did one, just finishing one as I started the channel, which was the 124 Scale Hellcat from Airfix, which was such a fun build, So I'd like to tackle probably one of my 132s, although I do have a 124 Typhoon car door, which we'll certainly do a first impressions of this year. So it could be the Wingnut Wings, it could be the Tamiya Corsair, or it could be the Zukimura kit. Don't know, but we're going to tackle one of those this year. Absolutely determined to do a large aircraft. So at some point we will flip the main project from being a ship to being a big aircraft, and the model ship will be a smaller project. So we'll just have to see how projects align in the year, but that is definitely an intention. So we also have some new things coming up in 2022, possibly and definitely. So The definites are my workspace is going to change. So we did a little workspace tour a little while ago, a couple of weeks ago, as I record this, which will be sort of like the before, and then we're going to revisit it and do an after. So that'll be coming up, the new modelling space, how it's laid out, why it's laid out the way it is. I want to try and incorporate my paint booth and stuff that's stuck in the attic, and get it a space that works for me as a modeller and for the family who require a kitchen space. So we're going to be upgrading this. That's going to happen at some point in the first half of the year. So the other thing that's going to happen, and it's going to happen anytime now, as I record this, I don't know what date. Last year it was around about the 6th of January, I seem to think. But Airfix will be launching its new releases and its new catalogue online. And what we are going to do is we're going to review that catalogue together, and then we're going to go shopping together. And you're going to, with me, go and put some stuff on pre-order, so that I've got everything that's planning to be released that I'm interested in on order, ready to go, which means I'm one of the first people to first impression it when we get it. So you can come with me and we'll do that together, so that should be some fun. Might have a look at one or two other catalogues if we can get to them online as they come out. But the Airfix one is always one I do some pre-orders on. And finally, I want some input from you guys as to a thought that I have about doing some live sessions. So now that we are sort of nearing 2,000 subscribers, what I want to do is look at how I can get some more interaction with you guys, so that you guys can have some more input into the channel. So the channel fundamentally is going to stay as it is. What I'd very much like to do is try and get some more interaction going. I have the live chat on the Saturday, and I have regulars, and I have one or two people that dip in and out. But if we were to do a live session, and I'm not talking about making membership or doing Patreon or anything like that, just a genuine let's go live, what would people be interested in being in there? You know, what would the topic or topics be? Is there something you'd like to see regularly? How regular would you like to see that? You know, once a month, once a quarter? You know, should we do the Roundup live? Should we do one of the model builds live, or discuss a model build live? Or should we do tool reviews live? Or should it just be once a month we all get together for a chin wag? What's everyone working on? What kits have you bought that you really like that you'd recommend to me? You know, I'm quite happy to make it a two-way thing. So, what are your ideas? What are your thoughts? Put them down in the comments below. And if we've got enough interest, then we'll talk again about live sessions in 2022. So, lots coming up in 2022. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys will be coming along for the ride and find something in there that you're interested in. So thank you all, every one of you, for subscribing last year and for continuing to support the channel. I've had some really genuinely lovely feedback over the year. I'm just an average model builder, just like you guys, working through my stash. And as always, I appreciate any comments, any constructive criticism, any have you thought ofs, and at the same time, it's great to catch up with you on a Saturday when we do our builds and find out how you're all doing and watch that build together. So let's see what 2022 builds. Look after yourselves, enjoy your modelling, all the best for 2022, and we will see you very soon.